Welcome to Fairway Nation, where we sit down with some of the coolest mortgage advisors and real estate pros to talk all things home buying, investing, and what it really takes to make it in this crazy market. Whether you're looking to buy your first home, level up your investments, or just want some insider tips, you're in the right place. We've got stories, advice, and maybe a few laughs along the way. So let's dive in. So this is exciting. This is going to be the first time on our YouTube channel, Fairway Nation, that you're going to notice we're in different places. We've got a special guest on here today, Will Caban. From the beaches to the burbs, Will Caban does it all as a mortgage advisor. Will, how did you get into the mortgage industry?
Man, so first and foremost, I want to thank you for having me as your first guest virtually. And
You're number one. You're the first. You are.
it's funny that we're using this platform because this is a platform that I think has a lot of potential for what we're looking to do. But to answer your question of how I got into the business, to be honest with you, there was two significant attributes that I had when I got into the business. I was naive and I just didn't know any better. And that's honestly the God's honest truth. Originally from New York. When I was in New York, I was a private banker. I worked with ultra high net worth clients. And around the time of my son being born, we had come out to South Florida. We fell in love with South Florida. Just to give you context of a timeline, July 4th, we came out here to visit my brother and sister-in-law. By October 1st, I had a tenant from my place out there. I had a new position as a loan officer in Florida. And we essentially had an apartment that we were set up with down here. So we were moving quick. And one of the big reasons why I wanted to become a loan officer versus being a private banker, the truth, because I didn't speak another language. But aside from that, no one wanted to give up their private banking job. So as a loan officer, I needed to have a lot of freedom in my work environment, freedom in my ability to be able to maneuver and talk to people and just meet with people, and then freedom to be able to be accessible to clients. Getting into the mortgage business for me was really about having that freedom, but it was being naive and not knowing any better that gave me the will to continue and pursue being a loan officer and continue to try to be successful as a loan officer. Because if you would have told me what it entailed, you would have told me what was required to be a loan officer, going from a really good salary position to a fully commissioned position as a loan officer, I probably would have said, nah, I don't want to do that. And it also kind of stems from the fact that I feel like the American dream is always to own a piece of your own world, right? Your home. And I think a lot of times, especially for me, when I was guided, I wasn't guided the right way. First two times I ever bought an apartment and a home were with the company that I work with. And in both situations, the company that I work with failed me. As an employee, they failed me. There were a lot of questions I had. There was a lot of information I didn't know. There was a lot of things that I should have known. And you would have thought I would know because I was in the industry. And even more so as an employee, I should have been, more informed. But the truth is that I wasn't. So I kind of took that experience and I said, if I'm an employee of this company and this is what my experience is like, imagine what it's like when you're a client.
Right.
Imagine what that experience is like. So I took that and I take that to this day as one of the things that I really stand on with my business. And that was really kind of what set the precedence for me being a loan officer. It was mainly because I wanted to help people with their dreams to get into a home and make it as stress-free as possible. And that was it. That was really what it came down to.
I love that. That seems to be a common theme among the mortgage advisors that you're going to see on the channel here, as well as the real estate partners that are in their fold. It's about helping others. That is a constant theme. I think it's important what you shared. What translates, in my opinion, to the rookie mindset, right? You come in with the rookie mindset. When I was a young man, I'd play a video game for the first time, and I'd play a guy who was playing video games all the time, and I'd beat the guy in the video game. Sometimes the rookie mindset helps. You don't really know what you're doing, but you know the goal. You know what you're trying trying to achieve, and ultimately that's to help a person. And someone had said to me once, oftentimes we learn from the things that we don't do right. And it's not saying that you want to always do the right thing, but experience really is like a teacher and a lesson learner oftentimes. So you were trial by fire. You just jumped right in, you dove in the deep end, and you got after it, and you really leaned into your goal of helping other people, which you still do to this day. I think that's a fantastic thing. You have a saying, from the beaches to the burbs. So you're far reaching. You do have the experience. What's a hot product right now? Like, what's something that's tip of the tongue? We're getting into fall. It's a roller coaster ride of an industry, but it's always been that way, and I think that's why people enjoy real estate. So tell me, what's been hot as we move into fall?
So one of the things that I kind of lean on is something called a CRA product, a community reinvestment product. Full disclosure, I use this product when I purchased the house that I'm in right now. And the Community Reinvestment Act basically requires institutions, banks, private banks, any institutions that have essentially a lending charter to reinvest back into their communities. This is a law. And what ends up happening is in certain stipulations are met with certain areas demographically, whether it's a minority census tract or it's a low income census, or they meet other requisites. The institutions have to reinvest into these neighborhoods and into these communities. With me being in Miami and predominantly in South Florida, a lot of the areas that we lend in essentially are what we would call Community Reinvestment Act areas that would qualify. Now, why is that important? That's important because these are regular programs, right? Conventional programs, FHA programs that clients will qualify for based off of meeting the eligibility requirements for these census tract areas. And to give an example, there's two programs that we offer specifically at the time of this recording. One is a specific fairway product, which essentially gives a client $7,500 back, $7,000 in the form of a credit and a $500 credit towards the appraisal. And it also gives you a very market favorable interest rate because it doesn't hit a client with what we call loan level price adjustments, which are also known as LLPAs. And just to make a long story short, LLPAs are how rates are determined to be higher or lower depending on your down payment, your credit score, the type of property you're buying, etc. So you can see where the benefit for this program comes in, because if you're, say, a lower credit score client and you're looking to buy a home, you're going to get a market favorable interest rate. But on top of that, you get something in the form of a closing credit, and you'd be able to utilize that. There's another program that is a third party program that allows us to be able to still utilize the Community Reinvestment Act credit in terms of what you get for the interest rate. It doesn't give an actual seller's concession or a buyer's concession, so you don't get any spin off from that standpoint, but it gives you a very market favorable interest rate. And in this case, you don't have to be a first-time home buyer like you do with the first program that I was talking
Okay.
about.
That's an
So
important thing,
it's a
right?
very important thing. And these are programs right now that have been really, really competitive in a marketplace where, we just hit over 7% yesterday again, right? This is a very, very important factor that we have to take into consideration now. Anytime that we work with a client, and, predominantly a big part of my client base is first-time home buyers, I'm looking at, do we qualify for this program? Right. And the way that you can qualify is on two levels. The first is we have to see, based off of the current property address that you live at, whether you would qualify for one of these products, and or the property address of where you're looking to purchase. Those are
Okay.
two distinct dynamic differences
Now,
between the programs.
a question for you with these programs. So these aren't just like forward facing programs. They're not just for consumers. Like you're here to help real estate partners, right? Like if a real estate professional is like, you're trying to sell a specific area, you're trying to sell a specific home, whatever that may be, you're able to walk their clients through this. I mean, that's why they have a mortgage advisor in the first place, right? So
Absolutely.
now, do they have to have already bought a home from you, or do they have to have some sort of like payment to you in order to like pick your brain or ask for help or be a resource, or are you just available for them?
No, I'm just available for anybody. I mean, if anybody ever has any questions, whether it's a client, whether it's a real estate agent, title company, it doesn't, I mean, anybody, I'm always available. Real estate agents specifically, and the real estate agents that I work with specifically. If there's certain properties that I see that they have listed and they come with the market, I'll look to see, does this meet that community product? Because if it meets that community product, they might be in a position to list that and say this property might be able to qualify for some credits and a favorable market rate. So the idea behind that is just to give them a competitive advantage in the sense that they would know and be aware that if there's a buyer that's looking and the buyer potentially qualifies, we might be in a position to be able to give them a better rate or give them, a credit or both. It's an important factor because in a market like now, and it's not just about interest rates. It's just in a competitive market, right, where prices are still going up, inventory is still relatively low, and certain price points are still moving very quickly. Having some sort of benefit that you can give to the buyers is huge, right? It's
Incredible.
huge.
Incredible. I mean, and it ranges across the board. I like what you say. We've kind of moved from the rookie mindset where you're getting into the industry and learning this stuff. Now we're in the present day, and it's great to have a rookie mindset when you're going into things and you're approaching things. But isn't it even better to have a competitive advantage? So if I were to be, starting at maybe the high school level or even a young college team, rookie mindset's fantastic. But when you get to the professional level, you want to win championships, you need to have a competitive advantage. So I know I'm using sports analogies for the real estate industry, but it's competitive. You need the competitive advantage. So I love you sharing that. Let's go into who have you been doing deals with? Who can we love up on? I want to hear some real estate partners, some title companies, some attorneys, because we're not the average, we're not the average kind of mortgage company. Like every month we're getting more market share, doing more deals. Our guys like yourself are doing deals, so it
Yeah.
may not be from the days past, right? We want better markets. We want to help more people. But let's talk about some wins, right? Because you guys are so humble. You guys don't, and I'm going to disclaim right here. He's prepared for this, but the answer that I've gotten across the board is I can't name enough people. That's what makes this kind of part uncomfortable because you're like, I left out someone. I wasn't able to say everyone that I wanted to say. So as a disclaimer, if you didn't hear your name, these are the people that are right on the tip of the tongue. These people might have just closed deals that we're just doing business with. However, we're going to do more of these. So Will's going to be giving out more shout outs. He's going to be, showing more love. But who's the people that you want to shout out this time?
So right off the bat, Darnell Aponte and his group, the Aponte Group. We have Sasha Valdez, we have Gianella, we have V. I also have John Mena from Modern World Realty, Diego Ramos from Modern World. We have his entire team that I could really shout out, and I have a bunch of other partners. But like you said, it'd take the entire video to name them.
Right.
But these
Let me ask you. Sorry, I apologize to cut you off. What would be a common denominator between these people? What's a common denominator between them?
respect,
Okay.
respect. And when I say respect, I can give you prime examples. Like Darnell, I've been working with Darnell since the second deal he ever closed. Him and I've been working together for almost 8 years. And there's a mutual respect in the sense that he trusts my decision making, he trusts what I say, and I also trust his decision making and I trust what he says. And there's a mutual respect also beyond the boundaries of just being, a real estate partner. He's a friend, and John is the same way. He trusts me. These are people that anytime they're talking to anybody, Will's the guy that you got to speak to. And at the end of the day, these are people that are responsible for putting food on the table for my family, right? Trusting me with their life choices, trusting me with helping them get to where they need to get to as far as putting their clients into homes and
Right.
trusting us with that. And I think that common denominator comes down to trust. It is absolutely trust and respect, and respecting each other's boundaries, respecting what we both do, respecting our professions. And I feel like with especially Darnell, we've come to a point where like I can almost finish his sentences in a lot of ways, right? Because I kind of know where he's going, and he knows where I'm going, and that partnership is just a huge thing. So I think when it's boiled down, like so talking to any real estate partner that I work with, right, whether it's a person I do one deal with a year or it's a person that I'm speaking to every single day, it always boils down to that mutual respect, right? I don't care about the number of deals that you do. I don't care about the dollar size. At the end of the day, there's a family that's at the end of that transaction. There's feelings, there's emotions, and there's important things that we need to get through that are involving mutual respect,
I
right?
love that. I feel like there's going to be a perfect segue into what this is everyone's favorite part. This is the last part, and I'll throw something out from a previous episode from Coldwell Banker. Rin, she said, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." right? So I'm going to segue into what would be a piece of advice, and you could keep rolling with what you were just saying about mutual recognition and trust and family. But you have one of three choices. So let's leave us with a piece of advice, a mic drop moment, or tell us your why. Will Caban, I love having you on the show, and I'm going to rapid fire some questions at you, but this is your chance. This is your stage.
I appreciate that. So what's the first one what was the first thing you said? I'm going to answer all three. I'm going to give you all three.
I want a why, a piece of advice, or a mic drop moment.
All right. So my why, to be 100% brutally honest with you, is that I don't ever want to have anyone have the experience that I had when I bought my first home. I want everyone's experience to buy a home to be as enjoyable and as pleasurable as possible. Now that could sound very cliche. That could sound very shishi, whatever it might be. But the truth is it doesn't need to be as complicated as most places, most people, and most things that you read about make it out to be. That's my why. My mic drop moment was when I realized that, at the end of a transaction, people can build and establish trust based off of a conversation. A lot of times I don't meet my clients in the beginning stages, and sometimes I don't meet them ever, right? But they know who I am. They trust me. We've built and established a trust, and that's huge. And I never ever take that for granted. People are giving me all their personal information, all of their desires, what their wants are, sharing their fears, sharing the things that they're nuanced about. I don't ever take that for granted, because in this day and age with technology the way it is, it's just an amazing thing to be able to do this, build and establish a relationship and establish that trust and foster something bigger than myself, which is essentially accomplishing a dream for someone, right?
I love
And
that.
those are really the most important things when it comes to just what I do. And I know there was one more thing and I forgot what it was.
We're leaving with a piece of advice.
A piece of advice. So my piece of advice to real estate agents in a market like this is just to continue establishing and forging any sort of relationship that you can with someone that you know, you like, and you trust. Doesn't have to be me, doesn't have to be anyone on our team, but we need to, and this is really important, you need to establish a relationship with someone that is going to give you value and you bring value to them. That is the most important thing that you could do. From a client perspective, my piece of advice is this: when you're buying a home and you're going through the pre-approval process, a lot of clients will make the mistake of thinking that because they go through the pre-approval process that they have to feel like they're committed to the buying process of a home. Rather than just slowing down and just telling yourself, this is a learning experience. I'm going to learn a lot, or I should expect to learn a lot from my loan officer if their loan officer is worth anything. And the reason for that is because you're going to learn what the monthly payments look like. You're going to learn what cash to close looks like. You're going to learn what these itemizations look like. You're going to learn a lot throughout this whole process. And even as you start looking at properties, you're going to learn a ton. You're going to go from not knowing anything to knowing a lot. And you're going to go from not being confident to being extremely confident. And that is what the pre-approval process entails. It can take you a day to find a property. It can take you a year. However long it takes is the amount of time that it takes you. Don't let anyone pressure you, whether it's the loan officer, whether it's the real estate agent, or whether it's anybody else in the transaction. You're always in control. You're always in charge. And just remember that.
I
I
love
work
that.
for you. And that's what it comes down to. I work for you. You don't work for me. That at the end of the day, that's
Fantastic.
the most important thing.
Real estate partners, if you're out there, if you're watching this, if you're looking for a guy to work with, if you're a buyer and you're interested to understand programs or what you can qualify for, Will Caban's your man. He's right here. Will, what's the coolest place you've ever traveled to? You're a travel guy. Coolest place you've ever traveled to?
Barcelona.
Barcelona. You're a watch guy. Coolest watch you've ever owned, or a wish list watch you wish you had?
Coolest watch I ever owned was the first Rolex I ever bought. The second coolest watch that I ever owned was the first Rolex that I bought from an authorized dealer that I was able to take my son to go with me for. That's
I
going to be his
love
watch
that.
one day. So
I love
those
that.
are
You
the two.
notice it all goes back to family. If anyone wants to give you a call, can they call you? What's a good phone number to reach you at?
Yeah, definitely. Always 718 area code 310-8825. It's a wonky New York area code. It's old 718, but I can't give it up. Even though I live in Miami, I still can't give it up.
That's
Everyone knows
okay.
I am.
If they wanted to apply with you today and they wanted to get pre-qualified or they wanted to shoot you an email, do you have a website or an email you can share with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to go directly to my website, it's applywithcaban.com. I encourage you, though, let's set up an appointment to speak beforehand. So call me, text me at my phone number. You could also find me online at Will Caban, pretty much on any platform. So you could always DM me, you could always instant message me, you could always just reach out directly. But I always encourage, before you actually apply, let's have a conversation. Always.
Let's go from the beaches to the burbs. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks, brother.
I appreciate having you on. First time we're not doing it in person. I don't know how to close.
I know, it's amazing. Weird, right? It's totally.
That was great. Thank you so much, Will.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate it.